right now, and I want to make it known that all the resources of the Village of Round Lake Beach is available to the family members as they cope with this tragic loss we will describe. Here's how the press conference will be laid out. I will introduce Round Lake Beach Police Chief Gilbert Rivera, that's Gilbertrivera, who will go over the details of what transpired in the 200 block of East Camden Lane yesterday and the incident on I-80 in Joliet yesterday afternoon. We will then introduce a spokesperson from the Lake County Coroner's Office to discuss their findings, and then a representative from the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. At the end, we will be available for some questions. However, you have to understand this remains an active investigation still at this time across multiple departments, across multiple counties, so there are some details we are unable to release. I will now turn this over to Chief Rivera for his comments. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending, and I'd like to thank all the brave men and women of our police department here in Round Lake Beach and all the assisting agencies throughout the state that helped in this very difficult case. I also like to thank the community for being patient and allowing us to do our investigation as we do continue to do the investigation. Round Lake Beach police were called to a home in the 200 block of Camden Lane for a well-being check at 1:40 p.m. Monday by a mother who was supposed to pick up her children from her estranged husband. Upon arrival, the three children, ages 5, 3, and 2, were discovered deceased in the home. The resident, later identified as Jason E. Carrolls, 35 of the 200 block of East Camden Lane, was missing from the scene and immediately identified as a person of interest. Officers immediately put out recognizing information through Illinois State Police Emergency Radio Network, seeking Carrolls at his vehicle, a red 2010 Nissan Maxima. Simultaneously, police began the investigation into the deaths of the three young children, requested assistance from the Lake County Coroner's Office and evidence technicians from the Lake County Major Crime Task Force. While the investigation into the deceased children was being conducted, Illinois State Police spotted then attempted to stop the suspicious 2010 Nissan on Interstate 57 and 115th Street in Cook County. That was identified to be the vehicle missing from the Round Lake Beach homicide investigation. This resulted in a 17-minute high-speed chase across multiple highways involving multiple police departments that came to an end when the vehicle crashed into extremely wooded area near Interstate 80 at Water Street in Joliet. Officers at the scene immediately identified the driver as Carrolls and took him into custody. While being extricated after the crash, Carrolls made statements to police officers involved in the chase and wearing body-worn cameras, indicating he was responsible for the death of the children at the Round Lake Beach home. He also said he attempted to commit suicide several times after the death of the children, but was unsuccessful during these attempts. After being extricated from the vehicle by firefighters, Carrolls was transported with injuries to a nearby hospital before being transported again to another hospital where he remained in custody overnight. Based on the evidence, Based on the evidence and statements captured by police via a body-worn camera, the Lake County State's Attorney's Office today approved 3 charges of first-degree murder. Carrolls is currently being transported to Lake County and expected to appear in Lake County Bond Court at some point when able. The Lake County State's Attorney's Office has indicated additional charges could be filed against Carrolls when the investigation is completed. Round Lake Beach would like to personally thank again the numerous responding agencies for their assistance, including but not limited to Illinois State Police, the Lake County Coroner's Office, the Lake County Major Crime Task Force, the Lake County State's Attorney's Office, the Chicago Police Department 5700 Adam Team, Police Helicopter 2 of the Chicago Police Department, the New Lenox Police Department, and the Joliet Police Department. I'd like to remind you all that this does remain an active and ongoing investigation. Additional details will be released when we are authorized and able to do so at a later date. Thank you. Any questions? And we do have not just a representative, Chief Deputy Coroner from the Lake County Coroner's Office, we do have Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt is here as well.
I was going to say, Chief, is everyone going to make a statement, or should we just fire questions away?
Gentlemen, I would say go ahead and just provide questions, and whoever is responsible to answer them will. So.
Why did he say that, you said he admitted to killing the children, I'm Rob CWGN, but my question is why did he give a reason as to why?
At this point, since the investigation is going, we're only going to release the fact that he did make a statement to the officer that responded and the had that on body worn camera right now. But we're still developing this case. This is still fresh, and we are still running leads and completing the investigation. I apologize, but this tape is not working very well.
Mr. Charter with CBS, did he say how he killed the kids? And these are his kids, right?
Sir, if you would like to step up.
Good afternoon. Steve Newton, NEWTON, Chief Deputy with the Lake County Coroner's Office. We did conduct autopsies this morning on the 3 children, and I just received word the 3rd one has been completed, and that the preliminary cause of death in all 3 children is consistent with drowning. Drowning.
Were these his children?
Yes.
And where did he drown them?
At this point in time, I think with the ongoing investigation, that isn't being disclosed yet.
Does he have a history of abusing his children?
At this point, we are unaware of that.
Chief, was this a custody situation? Did he have custody for a while and then you were supposed to bring him back over to mom?
So, as I mentioned in the press release, the kids were actually visiting with him at the time, and the mother was coming to pick them up to take them to a doctor's visit. So he had custody of them at that time.
Do we have names for the children?
Shared custody, it was his time to visit them.
The specifics of their custody arrangement, that I do not have for you at this moment.
Do we know anything about their marriage, how long they were married, when they were divorced, any of that?
I'm not prepared to release that information just yet.
Do we have names for the children?
The 3 children were Bryant, who is age 5, Cassidy, age 3, and Gideon, age 2.
Was it Brian or Bryant?
Bryant. with a T.
B-R-Y-A-N-T.
Yes, sir.
With the father's last name?
Yes.
And Cassidy, how do you spell it?
Cassidy.
And Gideon, G-I-D-E-O-N.
Yes, sir.
Can you spell that for the record, so it's familiar?
Gideon is Gideon.
Had the department ever gone to that home for any reason in the past? Was there any history with him in the police?
We do not have any history with that family at this department.
And is that the home that he lived at?
That is the home that he was living at.
He attempted suicide, how? What did he do?
He had attempted, made several attempts at suicide. I can tell you that without disclosing those at this moment, there was a lot of indications at the scene. There was blood. The blood was not of the children. So there were multiple things that he had done and disclosed. At this point, as I mentioned, it's still ongoing. We will have those details for you hopefully shortly. But he did make statements as well on body camera as far as wanting to hurt himself.
Does he have a history of mental illness?
We are unaware of that.
When you say there was blood at the scene, excuse me, you mean at the house? Or-
So correct. So at the house, once the police entered the house, there was a significant amount of blood throughout the house. But I want to be very clear that that blood was not from the children.
Did the mother not go to the house and instead request the well-being check? Did she have some feeling there may have been something wrong going on?
No, we were advised by the mothers. The mother did respond to the house.
So did she try to get into the house, nobody answered, so she called the police for help?
I won't get into specifics of it, but the mother did respond to the house and did have some access to the house.
Did she see anything before she called the police?
That we will leave for follow-up. We're still putting that together.
So just to be clear, she responded and then she called.
She would have been the first person there.
I'm sorry, and I don't know if somebody caught. Did she enter the house, Chief?
She did enter the house. She is a first responder to the house.
And made the discovery?
And we were the ones notified afterward. That is correct.
Did she see the bodies of her children?
Yes.
Were those all of their children together, or do they have others?
I am unaware of any other children.
Do you think that, the crash, you think that was another suicide attempt, the crash, or just was a high speed?
I am unaware of whether the high-speed chase is what resulted in the crash or if it was his intent to do so. That is something we're still trying to figure out. Again, we were very thankful and grateful for the expertise and professionalism of Illinois State Police. They were superb. They did an amazing job. And we are very grateful for their assistance in this matter.
Any drugs or alcohol in the system?
That currently we are unaware of.
You're unaware?
I am unaware of any type of intoxicating compound or any other substance.
Does he have a criminal history?
That I do not have available to me right now. So
This is obviously touched the community. This is a horrific story, and now that the details are out even more, it's even worse than I think folks could probably imagine. What would you say to this community that is in mourning right now, that's grieving?
I could tell them that in a situation like this, where it does appear to be, potentially domestic motivated from a domestic situation, is to, understand that this was an isolated event to this house, that the community at large was not in danger. However, as being one of the officers that responded to the scene and went into the building, I can tell you, as you noticed when I started my my briefing, is that we are all touched by this. This is not something that you go to and are unaffected by. We are a very strong community here. They were very patient. Our community was very patient. I know in other communities, sometimes the demand for answers is so quick that you don't even get the investigation completed. But we are lucky to have a relationship with our community that they allowed us to go ahead and pursue the facts and pursue the investigation. I would tell people that definitely when dealing with cases like this, just be aware of your neighbors, of your family members. If they seem like they're hurting, if they seem like they're not acting in a way they normally do, or whatever. I don't know that anything could have stopped this, or if there were any early indications of it. As I mentioned, we were not familiar with this family nor with the house, but I can tell you that we were all deeply affected. And I mentioned earlier, I want to mention again, I have an amazing staff here of officers, and what they saw yesterday is something that no one should have to see. So I will also mention that the department does have wellness and resiliency plans. We do have services that we provide for our officers to make sure that they get the attention that they need when dealing with a case like this as well. Because as you mentioned, sir, everyone is affected in a case like this.
Any indication of how long the children were dead?
At this time, we won't release that at this time.
Chief, can you say where the children's bodies were in the house?
They were in the bedroom.
All three of them in the bedroom?
That is correct.
Steve, any indication that maybe they were drugged beforehand or anything like that, or is that something that you guys are testing?
Yeah, we'll be completing toxicology tests over the course of the next few weeks just to rule out anything like that.
Were there any other injuries to them? Bruises?
There were no other substantial injuries.
Was any note that we
I will leave that for future release. Hopefully we'll have a release shortly, perhaps later today. But again, this is a very active investigation. So we're still piecing all that stuff together. Still working with the Lake County State Attorney's Office as I mentioned, there are 3 charges now, but there can be additional charges added on as well. So as we develop that, we will get the release out immediately.
Do you know how long the kids were at his house with him and the last time Mom saw her children?
Currently, right now, it is our belief that she had dropped them off for the weekend. It is our belief that she had dropped them off for the weekend,
And then Friday?
like a visitation scenario.
Over the ISPRIN alert initially, it stated that the suspect may have been around to an addressable conduct. Is there any relation between the addressable conduct and this homicide?
There was, I believe, a family member or some other, but it's not involved in this case.
I know you possible charges, additional charges against this gentleman. Is there anything else you can tell us in terms of the investigation? What's next?
What's next right now is, again, completing all the leads, all the additional folks that we're interviewing, completing the actual medical examination of, as you mentioned, this is just live as a coroner is completing these investigations. We still have to finish coordinating with the Lake County State Attorney's Office as far as what the final charges are going to be. Have the subject appear in front of bond court. All these things have to be taken into effect. He was, as I mentioned before, he was transported to one hospital, then transported again to a second hospital as well, where he is stable. So we're still, again, piecing it together. We just want to get the information out, as you mentioned earlier, sir. The community is concerned about it, and we want to get as much information, as much accurate information out when we could.
Chief, any idea when he might be discharged from the hospital?
We would expect him to be discharged soon.
Okay.
But again, we will update as soon as we have that information.
You had the chance to speak to the children's mother. How is she holding up?
She has her family in support. She has the police department also additionally supporting her. Our chaplains as well are supporting her. It is, I mean, I won't speak on behalf of the mother, but I can tell you that you know, it's unknown what is the actual appropriate response, right, when something like this happens. Our prayers and our hearts and I apologize because I did, going down, so I did speak with the mother. And again, all I can say is that we really support her, and we are going to do our best job for her to make sure that we get this case taken care of.
I see you getting choked up. What are you feeling? Where's that coming from?
It's just you know the national narrative, and you feel sometimes that people don't understand that this is the majority of what we do, is we respond to calls like this. I understand that the national narrative is not always great, and I understand that a lot of times we are responsible for that. I get it. I understand it. But I hope people understand that these are brothers, sisters, dads, grandparents, nieces and uncles, right, that work and respond to these calls, and they continue to go out there voluntarily. And just as a chief of police, I am so honored to be able to lead them, to be able to be there with them, and to know that when I and my deputy chiefs and my command staff and we all move on, I apologize, when we all move on, that we have other people that are here willing to take over the torch and continue to provide assistance to the community that's greatly needed. So that's why it does become emotional for me.
Chief, what do you know about the defendant? Did he work somewhere?
That background information I do not have all put together right now, at least not for a press release.
We have a mugshot for this man.
We will shortly. Shortly, once we're able to get him out of the hospital and get him processed, then we will shortly, and we will provide that immediately.
So mom also live around Lake Beach?
At this time, she was not living at that residence.
No, not there, but in the area.
I will not share her address right now.
Did the family live in the neighborhood for a while, a year or two?
I am unsure how long they were living there at the chief level. I'm sure my staff is aware of that right now.
About 5 years?
What was the question? I didn't hear.
How long did the family live in the area? And it suggested 5 years.
Can you tell us the spelling of the defendant, just so that we have that correct?
His spelling, the last name is, first name is Jason, common spelling, middle initial E. Edward, last name is K-A-R, as in Robert, E-L-S. Jason E. Carrells.
And to be clear, Jason and that woman, the mother of the children, they were divorced? Were they ever married?
I don't have their specific marital status or relationship status. I believe they're married. I don't know what part of their separation or estrangement we are in.
Right.
But they are estranged.
Right.
They are estranged, and it was a custody situation. Deputy Chief, are we?
I do have handouts here from everything that was discussed available, so I apologize I didn't get them before.
Deputy Chief, before we start, State Attorney Reinhardt.
Good afternoon, everyone. The only thing I'll say is that Since yesterday, we've seen the hard work of law enforcement, the smart work of law enforcement, and they literally saved lives all the way from Round Lake Beach all the way to Joliet through their work. We had a suspect that was on the run, a suspect that they didn't know anything about in terms of what his disposition was. The chief spoke about his suicidal tendencies, which makes the situation incredibly dangerous, and the state's attorney's office wants to thank the unbelievable work of dozens, if not hundreds, of law enforcement officers all the way from northern Illinois to the southern suburbs. So I just want to take a moment to thank them. Our office stands with them and also with the family and the friends in this terrible case. Thank you.
Sir, can you stand and spell your name?
Sure, of course. Eric Reinhardt, Reinehart.
And your title, please.
Lake County State's Attorney.
Hey, Eric, will you guys seek a mental health evaluation of this guy, do you think, at this point?
No, not going to comment on that until we're in court. We approved 3 charges of first-degree murder for each of the children. We did that this morning. Thank you. I don't have anything. I don't have any other comment.
Thank you very much, sir. We're done. Thank you all for showing up.
Okay, are you gonna give us a copy? Yes.
Yep, you want a copy. Thank you all.
Get a name to the.
Yeah, exactly, put a